You've got Deft just completely going off on this Corki here as well. And as we hop into Champion Select, we'll see how that affects the picks and bans here, because bans are changing up quite a lot. And you can see Lulu's been hitting the bench a fair bit.
I mean, Lulu, you can understand it from an EDG perspective. They just played against the Juggernaut. Of course, banning away Lulu really kind of decreases your options, and if you want to run that Juggernaut comp, EDG with Deft, one of the greatest hyper carries in the world, one of the best AD carries in the world.
Yeah.
Smart to ban away the Lulu, just removes a strategic option to their belt.
Yeah, and when it's, against EDG, who just saw the Juggernaut, and Corki, wow. So Deft getting a lot of respect this game.
That's really interesting. Finally, we see the Corki bans. I asked during that series, especially the first game, what would it take for Deft to get a Corki ban? And look, he finally gets that respect.
Yeah, there it is. Callista is available here. LGD could lock that one down if they want to, but a lot of picks still on the table. And what really stands out to you as far as a must pick? And is it going to be the Janna here for PYL?
I mean, the Janna definitely doesn't demand first spot. Still very strong. Still gives a lot of disengage. Of course, on patch 5.4, I believe the movement speed nerfs have come through, so doesn't have quite the same movement speed aura. They've kind of tweaked how that works. They're deciding between the Callista and Janna. To be honest, I feel like Imp has played some very impressive Callista games, but it always makes their flexible options in terms of positioning that much lower, because of course you want to keep Callista and Imp YL grouped. You don't have as much PYL roaming, but they proved me wrong, especially when they brought it out last week and looked very strong on the Callista, so I can understand it coming back.
Yeah, and you've got now as well, I mean, picking up the Janna means that you have any team comp that you can go into. They're not really getting themselves in a hide behind the Imp comp, really allow Imp to go off on that Callista, and making sure that they've got a very flexible pickup. And Koro, he's going to take his tree to that top lane, and it looks like Clearlove thinking about a Nami here for Nico.
And the Nami pickup would be very interesting. Nami's starting to see a bit of a rise in popularity. Some of the players, it's just one of those interesting things where win rates start to mount. For example, if you look at PYL himself, he's actually 3-0 on Nami. It's not really something you would have considered, but it's been consistent victory for a lot of people. They do change at the last moment, though. Actually going to blind pick.
Yeah, solo laners.
Yeah, both, as you say, blind picking both solo laners. Of course, there is always the potential for
it's
the
very
support
good point.
Maokai.
Luo support LeBlanc.
I feel like Luo just, killed it on that support Maokai, then just disappeared.
I know. He's like, I want to go out with a bang, guys. Let's win 2 games in a row with support Maokai so I can leave.
Maybe they're just keeping him for playoffs.
Yeah, just keeping it in their back pocket. And as soon as Lowe's on the team, people are like, oh, better ban Maokai. Oh, God. Too frightening. But TBQ looking at the Vi here, and Imp going back to the tried and true Graves.
His Graves performances have been amazing. He's so strong on that champion. Goes for the lane bullying, 17-1-12, multiple 10+ kill games on the Graves. I love the fact that they were hovering the Callista and then they've locked in Graves. Almost the opposite nature of champion. Now they're going for very much the lane dominating champions and the very aggressive Vi pick. But here's a certain Yeti we haven't seen for a long time from EDG.
Yeah, and we were talking about this before, the fact that Nunu actually does very well in comparison to a lot of the other 5.4 junglers, and when you got the likes of Clearlove, you may as well pick it up. And it looks like EDG looking for a bit of even a Jinx comp potentially.
I mean, that's what I was about to say, is it looks like they need a hyper carry. Jinx is the one that stands out, but Jinx against Vi, not a lot of fun in terms of that pick, so maybe they'll need to choose something with a bit more mobility, maybe even a Lucian just to give themselves a different option. I'm definitely not really a big Lucian player recently. Of course, he burst out into the scene playing Lucian. That was when he was in 2013, really became known as a Lucian player back then, but hasn't played a lot of Lucian since. With the Aurelia option, suddenly an immovable AD carry is looking super risky.
Yeah, very risky, and they have the opportunity to pick up an Ahri here as well, and that could mean that it'd be an even worse decision, but it is going to be the old school look here with the Syndra.
It's a skill matchup in the mid lane, Syndra versus LeBlanc. I see this matchup go both ways, but Wayless is one of the most famous Syndra players in the world. So suddenly Pawn, with the very early blind pick LeBlanc, has a lot to worry about in a skill matchup in the middle. It's going to be a fireworks matchup between Syndra and the LeBlanc.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that Syndra had some recent quality of life changes here as well, really helping out as far as those combinations are concerned. So we'll see how Syndra fares heading back onto the Rift. And Deft thinking about going for a Kog'Maw here, and it's not going to be a Juggernaut type comp. It's just going to be a protect the Kog'Maw. Let's let this guy carry.
Look, LGD saw this coming. That's why the Aurelia pick came out, and the Syndra to some degree. There's a lot of assassination, a lot of dive. We're talking Vi Aurelia, potentially the long-range stun coming through from Syndra. They telegraphed a hyper carry, and they've locked in the Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw has more effective range than Jinx situationally, with the Bioarcane Barrage, but it's very risky because LGD have absolutely anticipated what EDG are fielding here today on the Rift.
Yeah, well, it's true, but we have seen Kog'Maw be very successful, irrespective of whether it's going to be in this Juggernaut comp here as well. I mean, you've got that Bioarcane Barrage. Building a Trinity Force just works so well. Of course, this was just earlier today that we were discussing this, and although Kog'Maw didn't necessarily work there, still looked strong at a lot of phases of that game.
It definitely looked strong, but it was undone in the late game when we were seeing the Sona Kog'Maw. It just didn't have the same same peel needed. Of course, with Nami, they do have the peel needed, but it's definitely not a Juggernaut. This is a prototypical Protect the Kog'Maw comp with a strong assassin in the mid lane for a bit of mid-game power, and the LeBlanc coming through from Pawn. Answered in a lot of ways by Wayless, who will also be very strong in the mid-game. But in the late game, it's all about the Kog'Maw.
It is, but looking over the other side, of course, as you can see there, Imp, he's just so good at creating shutout situations with this Graves, always launching himself into your face, making sure that he has dominance over his lane. And when you've got someone like Kog'Maw, who is generally a little bit, I guess, not quite as strong in that early game, I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but let's get onto the Rift and see how it is. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with LGD taking on EDG. And we shall see. Of course, the Rift is still here, ladies and gentlemen, so that is most definitely good. But as these teams fan out, Papa Smithy, are we going to be seeing a potential lane swap here? Do we want to get Kog'Maw out of this 2v2?
This is the big question I was actually going to pose to you, Atlas. I'll just pose to the game, because whether they opt for a lane swap or not should have a severe impact on this game. And to be honest, I don't mind Kog'Maw in the Graves matchup. I feel like in the early levels, okay, you have to respect his short-range burst. But if you just trade whenever Bioarcane Barrage is complete, and especially when you get a few levels in that ability, Graves doesn't do that well against Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw can trade very well with him with his massive range. But, Deft, we've seen go 2v2 with the Kog'Maw before. Don't see why they can't do it again. But the one thing I can tell you is they want to get in there and invade this Nunu's jungle.
Yeah, they really want to get some vision down. You can see already on the side of EDG, they are moving into that bottom side jungle. Haven't been spotted out just yet, as LGD actually managed to pick off a ward there as Fawn gets a cheeky auto attack.
Had, of course, the flash available if you really needed it, but was able to get an advanced ward and get a bit more information. Knows that LGD are probably going to be retreating. They have their own offensive group in the bottom lane, as we see Deft and Mako pushing very aggressively themselves. With this aggressive warning, you have to think they want to know in advance the lane matchup, but Graves is swapped to the blue side, looking for the blue side lane swap.
Yeah, and it looks like we've got actually Imp opting in for it. So interesting, Graves not wanting to go against the extended range. And this is something that you were talking about. I mean, I guess we don't necessarily know exactly who wants to go where, but as you can see, minions are now starting to meet. And LGD going for that lane swap and going for the red steal.
So bear with me. At the start of this game, LGD invaded and got information about the top red side jungle. They know that there was the counter invading the bottom side, so they had to send multiple members top, because that's the only part of the jungle they had safe vision over. So it does follow that they're the ones that have initiated this lane swap, because they're taking the buff they have guaranteed control over. So in effect, it feels like LGD have basically forced this lane swap, and now we've got Graves Janna freezing in the top lane.
Yeah, meanwhile, in this bottom side, Deft actually getting his lane to push here a little bit early. Clearlove not going to have too much follow here, but as we've spoken about many times, Maokai more than capable of taking a camp early on.
Has happily got himself level 2. Actually getting quite greedy, going for a second camp here, Koro. Falling low, but of course, because it's a freeze situation, Mako can happily come tank up the aggro, and it's going to be a second camp for Koro.
Yeah, Mako actually tanking that up a bit, but taking the experience here as well. And Koro's going for the blue buff?
Koro's starting it off at least. He's very much hoping Clearlove will come and tank it soon.
Yeah. Koro, you got to be careful, buddy. It's going to mean that the red goes down on the other side of the map, but it's just going to be vertical jungling. No 3-buffing going on based on this Maokai's early beginning, but it means that the respawn of these camps is going to be quite soon, and Clear Love not really going to miss out on too much.
Going to miss out on too much. And Maokai, level 2.5 with the jungle follow, will be able to teleport in, hopefully clear out a couple of minions with the saplings and hit level 3. So much harder to turret dive that Maokai. And with the lane pushed up, of course, very pushed up, wonderful freeze coming through from Imp. He can just walk top and even keep his teleport.
Yeah, no worries there at all. Of course, there is a ward up there, so Imp is going to know if he's trying to do any sneaky business sitting in a brush and picking up experience, but you can see that wave is pushed so far back.
It's really interesting to see Clear Love moves with patches in terms of playstyle, but they're not necessarily enforced changes. Like we jumped to 5.2. There weren't big jungle changes, but suddenly carry Hecarim, tank Hecarim from the jungle, no Sightstone. A lot of junglers did this. Korra actually catches PYL in transition.
Yeah, level 2 Janna, of course, getting slowed by the red buff here as well. Sapling's going to explode. That's an even slower Janna. The heal to be forced out and the flash from PYL, and EDG already with the pressure.
Very strange for PYL to hold onto the flash for so long. Basically, he baited Imp into using flash. Has to use, a summon he'd much prefer to use selfishly just to defend his support.
And of course, PYL picking up the Ignite here as well is interesting. As Def just going to try and do some damage here to TBQ and Acorn, who's just going to Blade Surge his way in. But you can see, look at the range from Kog'Maw, just able to bully out these melee champions.
And TBQ is just trying to push this wave in with Acorn to stop the freeze. That's the reason why he's good. Of course, the gank for relieving pressure is what he's trying to do. They push very aggressively. Def creatively trying to hold the minions, and Mako, they actually managed to do it.
Yeah, no worries at all. And when you've got this amount of sustain in the lane here as well, I mean, Mako just sits there and ebbs and flows Deft, and he'll be full health if they manage to stay in this lane. And again, LGD might be forced to aggressively try and push out this wave.
And Nunu doesn't have that ranged wave clear, or the AoE wave clear at all, so cannot match TBQ in that way. Between the E and Q has so much ranged wave clear. Although Acorn needs a lot of damage, he actually has to flash in the bottom lane.
Yeah, Aqua Prison there would have spelt the death of Acorn there on that bottom side, but already, I mean, EDG putting on so much pressure. I mean, not even necessarily by doing all that much, just being in the right places and capitalizing, picking up summoner spells across the board, and we'll see whether they're going to utilize it as more of a battle erupts here in the mid lane. There's actually Clear Love coming through, an easy pickup with the Ignite as Pawn just swag walks his clone into the turret.
Speaking of swag, you don't normally talk about first bloods from a Nunu gank, but didn't respect the damage coming through from the snowball. Dies in the trade. Whaler just miscalculating over it. Just not really considering the situation with all the early AP picked up from Pawn, whether it was the double Dorans and even just the amp term on top. And wonderful pickup coming through for Pawn, and suddenly the pressure in the mid lane severely in EDG's advantage.
Yeah, and you've got all of these wards here from EDG as well. They've lit up that jungle. That was Clear Love earlier on, and that means that he knows exactly where TBQ is, and he started off this dragon very early.
I just feel like we've kind of returned to the EDG of weeks 3 and 4 against these Vi jungles when Vi started to hit the LPL. Clear Love loved to pick up the Nunu. Of course, you can go double Sightstone so happily, fits into the build. Nunu can build whatever he wants. Snake have already shown that. Beast builds Mikhail's like it's going out of style on the Nunu. But you can pick up the double Sightstone. You just make a jungler like Vi predictable. You know when she's going to gank. You know which lanes she's reacting to. And it just reduces the efficiency of the Sultan Battery as that gap closing initiates. So EDG, they pick up the Dragon as well. Going to be interesting to see what the pickup is from Nunu. Probably going to be the Sightstone that we've just mentioned. And they just have so much more map pressure than LGD.
I mean, that being said, TBQ has definitely been farming his jungle very effectively. Some of those will be lane minions from the bottom lane here as well. But Koro, he's teleported in, but TBQ has already killed Miko. There's the twisted advance onto him, though, and we'll see whether EDG can pick anything up. They're going to have to dive this turret as Acorn gets a nice equilibrium strike, and Def trying to use his extended range to get some more pressure down. EDG are going to be forced to back off, and they only lose their support to EDG, but still a decent play there from LGD.
Yeah, just unfortunately, Mako not respecting the 3-man stack coming through from LGD. Just more members are reacting to that turret dive than they expected. 1-man falls for no advantage. And all this time, Imp happily freezing in the top lane.
Yeah, just hanging out. This has been sort of the story as we head to the top side. It's just Imp chilling out, killing a few minions here and there. Oh, actually, TBQ taking a lot of damage. The chains proc, and Pawn just picks up the kill, and that's what happens when you've got such deep vision.
Exactly. So credit goes to Clear Love. No kill assist or score involvement, but Def flashes aggressively.
Yeah, Acorn actually getting exhausted here on the bottom side. Def just right-clicks him and picks up that kill, living artillery onto PYL just to make sure that he doesn't want to come back to lane. And already the Kog'Maw getting going.
I mean, Deft shows he doesn't need Valkyrie to make aggressive flash. Actually flashed over the Aqua Prison to pick up the kill onto Akon. Very aggressive play, even on the defensive-minded Kog'Maw. Gets him a kill. Going to start working towards the Trinity Force with the Sheen.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, Kog'Maw, you probably want to hang on to your flash as much as possible, but you also really want to get an early snowball if you can. So picking up these early victories is definitely something that's worth flashing for. And keeping Acorn out of a lane as well, meaning that this Aurelia, 14 CS here at 9 minutes into the game. I mean, Maokai, he's always going to be Maokai. He'll always have his twisted advance, always be able to get his work done. But Acorn, he wants to build a Trinity Force, and for that you need a lot of money.
It's probably going to have to be the Righteous Glory, just because Koro nowhere near, let alone a Catalyst, let alone a Rod of Ages. So definitely both of them smarting for gold. But as you mentioned, Acorn has 3,700 gold to be relevant. Maokai, always relevant.
Yeah, there's the flash twisted advance in this top side as well. They know that Acorn doesn't have his flash. There's the Arcane Smash as well for the slow. Is the dive going to be on? There's the Absolute Zero. Clear Love explodes the Aurelia, and again, Acorn's dead.
Clear Love's jungle pathing has been masterful this game, between putting down those wards that got Pawn the solo kill on TBQ, and then just actually getting 2 successful ganks, one in mid and one in top, we have to remember, on the jungle Nunu. You just wonder why he kind of skipped over this champion for a couple of weeks. They're so smart at playing around the Nunu. Actually doesn't pick up a sidestone, goes straight for the Juggernaut.
Yep, picking up all of that extra health. And of course, we've seen Beast playing this Nunu quite often, and that Juggernaut enchant on your jungle item does work wonders on this Nunu. Just makes you so immovable. Means that you can always get your snowballs exactly where they want to be.
And at some point in this game, you're going to have, you know, Deft and Clear Love, best friends forever. The Blood Boil coming on to Deft. It's still going to be a very powerful Kog'Maw. Not Juggernaut, even though there's a Juggernaut and a Kog'Maw. Don't mistake it, dear audience. But it's going to be a very happy Deft. And look, he's 1-0 in lane. They have the timer on Dragon, so although he won't have his flash up for Dragon, will Deft. They have the exact timer. They should still be able to rush it down the moment it spawns, and he just powers his way towards the Trinity Force.
Yeah, and when you've got Deft, who's just such a brilliant hyper carry player, I mean, yeah, it's not the Juggernaut comp, but he still has a lot of augmentation from his team. He's got the Tidecaller's Blessing from Mirko here for the extra slow, for the extra damage, and he's got the Blood Boil here from Clear Love as well.
So let's compare EDG's Kog'Maw comp to what we saw from Ganti. And we were talking about how they were kind of split between their days, because it definitely wasn't a Juggernaut comp, even though I believe they had a top Lulu in that game.
They did.
The big difference is, from the support, you can't really compare the disengage available from Nami to that of Sona. Sona has Crescendo, but Nami, she's got the bubble, she's got Exhaust this game, she's got the Tidal Wave. She has a lot of disengage. You've got Clear Love, who's on the Nunu, although in the top lane we see Koro getting ganked by TBQ.
Yeah, some revenge here as the Assault and Battery comes down onto the tree. Koro going to use his Twisted Advance, trying to escape. Vault Breaker's going to find him, though. So much damage. And with the help of Wayless, TBQ picks up the kill.
And Pawn actually looked to react to that gank, so it doesn't actually get to push even the minion wave in mid aggressively. We see TBQ and Wayless smartly moving to mid lane together to stop any assassinations, but in the bottom lane.
Clear Love just running right under that turret. There's the snowball as well. Imp completely out of mana as Deft. He's very, very slow on this Kog'Maw. Doesn't have a lot of health. More snowballs to come down, and Imp somehow wanders casually out of it.
Deft was about 2 seconds away from getting the Biokine Barrage available, and actually Pawn rotates and picks up the kill.
Yeah, this is the part of the map that Pawn really does like to prey on, so we probably should have seen him roaming down there, and again, no one able to escape when you've got a LeBlanc just so capable of crossing terrain.
Yeah, TBQ's just trying to remove about a bit of pressure around Dragon. 30 seconds till that spawns. I don't believe LGD have an exact timer. But again, to remind, so of course, Nami, superior and disengaged to Sona. That's pretty much, it's not really an arguable point. Now you have the Nunu, who, okay, you could be like, all right, Blood Boil gives him more damage, but the space control of both the Snowball, which of course, attack speed and movement speed reduction, and then just the ultimate again with the attack speed and movement speed reduction, you just ult in front of your Kog'Maw, and it's such a big area of effect to get past. You don't have a lot of options. Then Koro on the Maokai flexibly can engage or disengage or even just disrupt for the Kog'Maw. There's a lot more disengage available for the Kog'Maw. So it's, again, protecting the Kog'Maw, excellent comp. And you've got Pawn assassinating people left, right, and center. So a balanced teamfight comp with a bit of mid-game power coming through from LeBlanc. It's just a lot more cohesive than what Gamti did, which is just put things together and hope for the best.
Yeah, Gamti also didn't really have a dedicated tank here, as well as Pawn just doing some funny business there in the mid lane, and Wayless gets insta-killed.
I'm sad that wasn't a solo kill, because that was some sort of crazy outplay from Pawn moving back to his mimic. That was something, and then Clearlove's like, I'll take that gold.
Yeah. I've got a snowball here. Do you want me to? Okay, yep. Taking the kill. No problem.
Can't juke the snowball.
You certainly can't. You also can't juke much when you're Syndra. So, honestly, Wayless didn't really have many options there. Clearlove, he's going to eat a Scuttle Crab. Delicious.
Pawn actually just used his Mimic Distortion in TBQ's face, despite the fact that he had Assault and Battery. He was like, whatever, I'm at half health. I just want to harass you. And EDG, they're in a ward. I believe they've just been spotted out. Maybe not. I mean, with this sweep, you can guess it, but they're going to pick up the second dragon.
Yep, Pawn.
Or maybe not.
Down here as well. Imp does have level 9, so he's got a lot of extra damage with that collateral damage that is available. There it is, actually. Mako taking a lot from that one. The teleport's coming in, the Assault and Battery onto Clearlove. He's going to use his ultimate before he dies, and TBQ, oh my goodness, Wayless just exploding players left, right, and center. Pawn going to pick up TBQ, but Koro, you are most definitely dead, good sir, as Pawn comes around, does land the chain. Stops the Aurelia. That's not going to happen for too long as Imp's buckshot does come down. But as the dust settles, LGD picking up a 3-for-1.
Yeah, Mako and Pawn were both very low as that fight started with all the bursts coming through. They needed to back away early and didn't. So they do pick up a lot of answering kills. And the Dragon, I believe, does it go down? Yes, it went down. But it actually went to LGD. And now the Dragon score is even.
Yeah, no problem there at all. And LGD looking like they were having a rough time. Feeling a whole lot better now. Deft in a bit of trouble, does have the Berserker's Greaves. Look at the Arcane Barrage, but Acorn just comes around the side, and Deft, one more auto attack. Acorn easily going to be able to solidify that one. Shield there as well, so no Acathian surprise kills to come down this time, and it's just all looking too easy for the rotation play here from LGD.
It was just an over-aggressive stay coming through from Deft. He really wanted to pick up the Trinity Force, about 700 gold away, actually even less than that, 500 gold away from completing that item. But the pace for it was Ife and Pawn. He wants to kill TBQ again. Yeah,
the bottom side of LGD's jungle is not a place that you ever want to be, as Pawn just hangs around. Last Q easily picks up that kill.
And the awkward part of a TBQ is that he went to a Vault Breaker away and actually was blocked in his tracks by the chains. So that's nothing he could do.
Yeah, not exactly the right time. And, you know, when you're a jungler farming your Raptors, you expect to be safe.
And not solo killed twice in your own jungle.
I know.
And it's not even a double side stone. It's just the wards have been very on point from EDG. Clearlove, that extra Ruby Crystal, may be building towards it, but all junglers in the LPL have moved away from spending a lot of gold on the very early side stone, but they're still getting a lot more purchase out of the wards they do have down. The economy of wards, the actual efficiency of the wards being placed, is going up as the weeks move on.
Yeah, and they also have to as well when you have a limit on the amount of wards that you can put down. Pawn and Clearlove again forming their buddy system here in the mid lane, and this is what happens when you play Syndra, who doesn't have all that much mobility.
No, and Syndra's been preyed upon multiple times, both in terms of solo kills from Pawn and just Clearlove coming through and causing pressure. He's still being able to be very competitive CS, Wayless. Of course, he has excellent CS and has AoE wave clear from very long range coming through on the Syndra, but definitely in the skill matchup, Pawn has the advantage in the early levels.
Yeah, that's true. And do you think that Kog'Maw skin looks a little bit like an oven?
Battlecast Kog'Maw looks awesome.
It looks awesome, but it looks like an awesome oven.
What would you cook in there, Atlas?
I'm not entirely sure. Something Acathian, I would say.
Maybe cupcakes? It's kind of adorable.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely. If only it was against a Caitlyn, we could have a thematic sort of team situation going on here.
Don't want to eat those cupcakes.
No, you don't. But if it's cooked in a Kog'Maw, I probably don't want to eat them anyway. Pawn just going to clear out this mid lane. Does get stunned up there a little bit. The ultimate comes through, and Wayless with the opportunistic kill. Beautiful play.
So many of those spheres on the map. You see 6 of them. It's just more damage than Pawn was expecting. Went super offensive with his build. No magic resist to speak of, and this is why it's a skill matchup, because you misplay even just a little bit, you can see the damage Wayless can do.
Yeah, and look at Deft using that Tycho's Blessing. The double bubble here as well. The tidal wave to come through. Clearlove with the ultimate flashing on top of him. But Wayless, he's on his way down. Clearlove, it might get turned around. Doesn't land the stun. Throws a sphere there as well. But the heal to come through is enough to save Clearlove's life. And that was ridiculous. But Pawn is still dead and nobody else actually died.
Yeah, the ridiculous fact is that no one died in that exchange. It was so close on both levels. Deft had to use his Summoner Heal to keep Clearlove alive, as you mentioned. And the result is a draw. Deft is going to be able to farm up his Trinity Force. He has the gold for it now. We'll have that available for the next Dragon fight. Was delayed in picking up that Power Spike with the early Berserker's Greaves, but is farming up very competitively. Only 20 CS behind the Greaves.
Yeah, not too bad. And when he picks up that Trinity Force as well, it will be a huge spike in power. Doesn't have very much mana left. Must be wanting to head home very, very soon. Pick up that Trinity Force, as you can see, backing now. Just having a dance there as well as Pawn. Looking to maybe create some more assassinations. Acorn has to be careful. He has been spotted out by a ward, so LeBlanc not going to be able to do anything too fancy. And Clearlove also going to be wandering over that one. And Acorn says, well, you camped me.
Interesting. I mean, you have to mention here that the kill distribution on EDG's side solely basically in the pocket of Pawn are most of the kills, whereas much more even. The front line of LGD actually has a lot of the gold for their team, and their AD carry is winning in CS. So in terms of items, Trinity Force, it was looking like it could have been a 25-minute Trinity Force. It's a lot better now, but we see a turret die.
Yeah, TBQ coming through here as well. Acorn taking so much damage. The final Q is going to pick that one up from Pawn. Clearlove just tanking the turret forever. Koro might be in trouble now as well as Wailers came round, and he'll be able to pick up that kill with a cheeky ultimate. PWL probably don't want to take on Pawn, mate, because you are a little Janna with not all that much defensive statistics at the moment, but nice play from LGD, and they knew exactly where EDG was then.
And now my interesting question is, will it result in a 1v1 AD carry battle in bottom? I actually think Kog'Maw wins this 1v1 against Graves. He's a level behind, so that's a big problem, but with his massive range advantage, very hard for him to train with a Kog'Maw.
Yeah, and if he plays it perfectly, manages to get that sort of level 2 ultimate down right into the face of Deft, which he's going for now. The teleport to come through. Acorn's there as well. Imp's going to go down, though, and it's a 1-for-1 trade as the teleport did come through from Koro. He didn't decide to cancel it there as he's going to pop his ultimate and then break it there as well. Acorn going to get knocked up twice here as well as the Aqua Prison comes through, but he's safely under his turret, and there's not too much EDG can do, but they might be able to actually get some damage down here as Pawn and Clearlove. Man, these guys are best buddies right now.
And let's take a moment to appreciate just how great that play was from Deft to even pick up a counter kill. No real reason to, with Aurelia by far getting the first teleport down. And as you mentioned, Pawn and Clearlove, this red side jungle has been a graveyard for TBQ and all of LGD.
I want to get that, the match history page up for where everyone died on the map, and it's mostly going to be the red side jungle here for LGD. As EDG going to start off this dragon again, want to pick up their second. Of course, they are going to have some bad memories of last time where LGD managed to pick up that fantastic team fight, and they are this time going to be backing away.
They eat a lot of damage because Deft wasn't grouped with the team. It was very risky on the entire dragon, but now it's low, and Clearlove does have the secure available.
Yeah, smite potential very, very strong, but it's going to be Mako.
Oh, with the Nami damage.
Yeah, all the Nami damage. That's ridiculous. That just shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen at all. The pause to come through to work out why the Nami had smite is going to be coming down here, but that was ridiculous. And when
Nami
it comes down to a 50-50 like that.
a damaging ability to take, it was just an auto attack.
Would it have been a Tycaller's Blessing auto attack? Or you'd hope so. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt on that one, but my goodness, that is very, very dangerous. TBQ didn't even have smite available there either.
Yeah.
So
just go for those dragons. It's all good, mate.
No, this is what the plan was. It was EDG making sure that everyone coordinated their auto attacks and abilities at the same time.
I forgot about the Nami auto attack secure damage. My apologies.
Yeah. I think we all didn't quite get there. Wailers having a giggle about something there as well.
Big issue here for EDG. We talked about how Koro was kind of trapped between builds. It was already looking very early, like it was going to be too late of a part-time for World of Ages. So what would he build? At the moment, Merc Treads, a Catalyst, and just building a bit of armor towards perhaps the Frozen Heart coming through with the Glacial Shroud, compared to a completed Trinity Force Merc Treads. The roams from Acorn have been on point. How many times now has he dived Deft under turret? I believe it's done it twice already. Koro's counter teleports definitely haven't amounted to too much. So in terms of item efficiency of buys, Trinity Force versus just some of those earlier lower tier items, it's night and day. And the Trinity Force part-time with Merc Treads is very, very early for Acorn. The front line in general, obviously TBQ not having much fun farming his Raptors, died doing that a couple of times, but the front line's strong for LGD. And Wailers, 18 CS up despite all the pressure and his 6-1 laning opponent.
Yeah.
He's doing just fine on the Syndra.
Yeah, and as soon as, Pawn doesn't have any magic resist here as well. So despite the item discrepancy, when you've got two mid laners that both have 100 to 0 potential based on whether they actually outplay their opponent or not, It's just going to happen. It doesn't really matter. But 6-1-1 doesn't really mean anything to Wayless. If he lands a stun, Pawn's dead.
The viewers are the winners, and to be honest, the hardest job is the cameraman because these people are dying in an instant. If you get hit by the stun, the E ability, the Scout of the Week coming through from Wayless, Pawn's dead. And, and the trades are just as strong coming through from Pawn onto Wayless. So, I mean, it's a skill matchup. We've already seen some amazing outplays.
Yeah.
And Syndra got a kill off screen.
Yeah, Syndra just happens to just kill people left, right, and center. And that outplay in the mid lane, though, that was one of the highlights of the week, I think, already. And we're in our first day as well, and I'm already willing to say that, just because Wayless just played it so incredibly beautifully. His damage calculation was fantastic, and the fact that he goes for these stuns, lands it, and then just goes, okay, yep, easily, just do all your buttons.
And Clearlove, he's got a very late side stun. He's very, very tanky. That's why you see so much turret diving, is that Clearlove's job is basically to walk under the turret, hit that amazing skill shot, the snowball, and just kind of tank turret. That's basically what he does when he rushes the Juggernaut. It was like a 10-minute Juggernaut, which is a massive burst of health. I believe on this patch, 500 health from the Juggernaut being completed. So he's just able to take so many turret shots, even more if he chomps on, I believe it's a Golem to pick up the extra 2% max health or something. Like, he's just very tanky and facilitated the dives that have come through. But LGD, ever since that Dragon fight that they took, they've been answering these rotations in success. You know, they've had Acorn teleport in, pick up a lot of kills. Deft, to his credit, picked up a trade kill. But it's actually a very finely poised game. After it was looking like EDG, you know, once they got that second solo kill from Pawn on TBQ, you thought, all right, how's Vi ever going to be relevant if she's dying in her own jungle? But it's actually very finely tuned. In fact, LGD, they're at 400 gold ahead.
Somehow here with a couple of extra kills, even on turrets here as well, ladies and gentlemen, at the 20-minute mark. And EDG, I mean, we were expecting these guys to be wanting to secure that top spot. LGD are just doing a fantastic job denying this, despite the fact that EDG had a very, very strong early showing this game.
Absolutely. I mean, LGD, they've been on point. When they win, their rotations have been excellent. They're answering EDG's early rotations with rotations of their kind. And I said rotations so many times, let's get back into the game.
Are you Monte Cristo there, Papa Smithy? I know you guys are pals, but it's starting to seem like you're the same person.
I'll get back to you on that one.
That is most definitely a compliment, by the way. Deft going to be throwing some living artilleries out here as well. Just has fantastic range. And using that just to get that wave clear down as well. So defending that mid lane outer turret successfully. Acorn just going to take a casual turret shot here. And LGD looking to put some pressure down. And they've got this turret very, very low.
I think they've actually noticed, LGD, if they early group, the ranged wave kick coming through from EDG is almost non-existent. Cosmo in the early levels especially can't do too much to help. Pawn is an assassin, and just like Fizz, LeBlanc doesn't have a lot of ranged wave clear without getting into melee range of the creeps. So as a 5-man group, EDG don't have a lot of answers.
Yeah, Pawn just going to be camping out this watered brush here as well as Acorn. Happy to walk around here. The chain doesn't land. Oh my god. Okay. He's dead. Got it.
I mean, I see Syndra get a kill on a LeBlanc. I'm not surprised.
Well, it's true, but I mean, yeah, that was just very, very quick.
And EDG, their initiation options, if they can't actually get the Vision Stranglehold, if they don't get their sweepers on point and start fighting around objectives, they don't really have a lot of initiation. They've got Koro with single target initiation with the Twisted Advance, and then, you know, the chains potentially if you're face checked. But in a 5v5 open situation, fighting, you know, in mid lane, for example, with the turrets down, EDG, they can't really force a lot.
Yeah, and you sort of want someone to walk into a brush here with Clearlove priming an ultimate here at the same time. Imp actually going to find Koro and doing a lot of damage. Quick draws forward with that red buff as well. Just flashes, and I don't even think he necessarily needed to, because Koro didn't have his back, but Imp just really, really commanding some respect here in this bottom lane.
Yeah, 0-2-5, now 1-2-5, but Koro, we talked about him being the odd one out, basically having no high-tier items completed, and he just got blown away by Imp. He just wouldn't have expected to take so much damage. Disrespected him, you'd have to say. EDG using this time to push top. They really want to get a second outer turret, but this is potentially going to be a first outer for an inner trade.
Yeah, this is going to be the inner turret in the bottom lane here as well, and you can see TBQ with a brilliant rotation steals away the blue buff, then heads straight towards that bottom inner turret. They're going to be able to take it here as well, and Imp just knows exactly when he's strong on this Graves. Knows that, you know, now that he's got the Cloak of Agility plus the Infinity Edge, he's capable of so much damage.
And it's very, very risky for EDG to try and do these turret trades, because again, they don't have the wave clear to kind of force a stalemate or just clear waves. They have to kind of go all in on their trades, and trading an outer for an inner is definitely not in EDG's advantage.
Yeah, well, of course, and now they've created that 2-turret gap. They've evened out the kills here as well, and you can see it in the gold. It's over 3,000 at this stage. And EDG, they really need to wait until that massively late game where they can use their really balanced teamfight comp to great effect around the likes of Dragon and Baron. But if it keeps going the way it is, LGD are just going to have so much map control.
And look, if they could have gone for an assassin that had more wave clear, for example, Ari, who did make it through the picks and bans, at least they'd have some defensive wave clear. But Pawn and LeBlanc only go at 1 speed. They can only get picks and kind of force 5v4 situations. When it comes to wave clear, they don't offer very much. And you know, just the answering 2 kills that have come through to Wayless, suddenly Wayless catapulted to 4-2-1 himself. Definitely no slouch against Pawn. He's been forced to go Abyssal Scepter just to try and live through these damage trades.
Yeah, because he just cannot really handle taking a stun that Wayless has been fantastic at doing. And does this come down to LGD just being brilliant in the draft phase? They saw these 2 solo laners and said, look, what does this mean for us and what do we then have to do? And then they said, okay, there's not going to be very much late game wave clear, so let's build around that.
I mean, I feel like they did just because, again, we talked about the fact that EDG had to 5th pick a hyper carry. They needed damage coming from somewhere, so they had to go for Kog'Maw or Jinx, but they already had Vi and Syndra locked in. Every hyper carry was a super risk to pick, and they really, really wanted this LeBlanc. Remember, they picked LeBlanc in the first rotation.
Exactly.
And so they really wanted LeBlanc, and LeBlanc does not go with what a Juggernaut comp wants to do, or even in this case, a Protect the Kog'Maw comp wants to do, because she doesn't offer wave clear. Protect the Kog'Maw, you always want the Kog'Maw to get to a late game situation, but if you don't have initiation or wave clear, you're playing reactive against a team like LGD. They're 4th on the ladder. They can play proactively, and so far their rotations have definitely been on point. And EDG, they don't have many answers, unfortunately.
Yeah, they don't, and you've got this as well. I mean, Imp, he's built the Phantom Dancer and the Infinity Edge here as well, and you talk about Graves and you think, okay, not really a tank buster. Often wants to build the Static Shiv and the Bloodthirster like Vasily likes to, but he wants to be able to destroy Koro, and we saw him do it successfully before. Of course, didn't have the Frozen Heart then, but now with this extra single target damage, the extra crit as well, you have to think he's going to be a little bit more suited for that.
Look, it's an auto-attack build. We've seen a lot of Graves, you know, for example, Vasily. We've seen him previously go, say, Bloodthirster into Last Whisper, go for more of an ultimate build. And look, if you've got a lot of assassins on the enemy team that you respect, absolutely, just focus on your collateral damage and your buckshot. But realistically, if Pawn's tracked in fights, and remember, you know, he'll dash in, and there's a lot of counterplay to that. You know, Wayless and other people have been on point. The stuns coming through from either TBQ or Akon between the Assault and Battery and the Equilibrium Strike. If Pawn is accounted for, Imp should be able to free hit even at 525 range in these fights, so he's able to go for a right-click build and can actually use that quick draw offensively, because there's just not many ways to deal with him from this EDG lineup.
Yeah, and you have to remember the fact that, you know, quick draw is also a steroid, gives you that attack speed, so is going to be augmenting that sort of build style as well. So,
I mean, Deft's actually going for the Blade of the Ruin King second. The recent pickups have been the Bloodthirster just for a bit more navigability. But look, he needs the Blade of the Ruin King because it's so strong against Irelia, potentially to sap that movement and just open up distance from all the gap close coming through from TBQ and Akon. So I don't mind the Blade of the Ruin King pickup. Of course, has so much percentage health shred now, and the health stacking has come through to some degree from LGD. It's been the Dragons that have really been the undoing of the EDG lineup, but TBQ, he started off, and maybe they'll be able to just DPS it down quickly.
Yeah, he just Vault Breaks around the edge and clear up, easily able to secure that one. Beautiful Aqua Prison from Mako as well, in order to mean that EDG, they don't even have to use their teleport and they pick up an easy dragon.
And I guess to me, the big win condition for EDG is that 5th dragon specifically. It makes Kog'Maw so strong with the 12% AD and AP across the lineup. And the other good thing about a 5th dragon is once you pick up 4, you know the enemy team has to fight you for the 5th. So maybe that'll get the fight they want. They don't have initiation, but if they can monopolize objectives, you force the enemy team to fight on your terms. So potentially that is the way that EDG get the big fight they're looking for.
Yeah, and as well now, I mean, with Wayless being able to pick up this Void stuff, Assault and Battery wasn't blown here as Pawn would have been able to use that Mimic Distortion to just kill TBQ and the rest of his team. The catch might be on here as POL takes a lot of damage, but he is going to be okay. No one else going to be committing to that one. Bit of danger to come through, but Monsoon actually gets popped, and Imp gets destroyed here on the offside. Wayless now in a lot of trouble at the same time as Koro. He's going to jump on top of this immobile Syndra. Again, though, it is going to be Mako falling down, and Deft, he's dead. Pawn now trying to dance around this fight. There's the Flash Vault Breaker, but doesn't find it. Beautiful plays coming through from Pawn as He's dancing around, does land the chain here as well. Blade Surge not going to be available as another distortion gets him over the wall. Pawn doesn't actually opt to go back towards that distortion as now is going to have that Mimic available. Does distort around, kills PYL and saves his own life as the ball breaker comes through. Oh my goodness, Pawn is ridiculous on this champion and he's going to be safe.
That was disgusting.
That was absolutely disgusting.
Amazing play coming through from Pawn 2 times in one game. This time, no clear love snowball to steal the thunder. The outplay coming through, and then just the exclamation point on the end, the cherry on the top of killing PYL. Man, I can see why they early picked the LeBlanc. His mechanics down pat.
That was utterly beautiful to watch, and there was just nothing that LGD could do. And it wasn't like they made mistakes looking for him there or anything, or maybe they just made a mistake by even going after the LeBlanc that just has so much ability to maneuver around, but beautifully played by Pawn.
I mean, the only mistake that came through was that Imp died to start that fight off screen, just walked into Twisted Advance range, not even flash Twisted Advance, it just died to focus fire. Deft was assassinated himself by Wayler, so both AD carries cancelled out, but 3 for 2 and only the support falling in terms of AD carry trade, but only the support falling for the mid and support of LGD. Definitely an advantage for EDG.
Yeah, looking really, really great. They do still have that 2,000 gold deficit to deal with, but you can see Deft continuing to farm now on this top side. And as far as scaling potential, you really have to give it to the comp that has a Maokai who becomes almost immortal in the late game, and then Deft on this Kog'Maw who has so much augmentation, what with the Blood Boil and the Tyclaw's Blessing that we've spoken about so often. Would be scary.
With all the wave clear from LGD, though, I really think EDG need to pick up those objectives, specifically the 5 dragons. They have 3 to 1 at this point. They need to continue that, but they don't have any control at the moment of the river wards towards dragon. Actually, LGD very on point with these wards. If they want to pick up the next dragon, they need to start sweeping, because that's the win condition. They don't have initiation. They have good turret damage. Their sieging is fine, but their initiation is very, very low. So they want to create a situation where LGD are forced to face check them. And that's when EDG look very, very strong. Yeah,
the teleport coming through from Acorn, but they're going after Pawn, who is definitely going to be safe. But is this just an out-rotation here by LGD? Because they have a minion wave heading towards this inner turret. Teleport going to be used here from Koro. Nice Aqua Prism, but the Banshee's Veil going to be enough as EDG looking to start some form of fight. The Snowball going to land onto Imp, but Distortion not going to close enough distance here for Pawn.
It's a teleport for teleport trade, so importantly, no structure falls from EDG, and we kind of reset after a lot of aggressive posturing from LGD.
Yeah, and Pawn, now that he has so much cooldown reduction with this Morellonomicon here as well, does have a blue buff available, so he's just distorting everywhere.
I mean, he was doing that before, let's be real.
Yeah, that's true. We were
the assassination with all the AP is stacked. He's sitting on, I believe, 547 AP with both the Abyssal Scepter and the Voice Off. No time even for the Sorcerer's Shoes yet.
Doesn't bother, yeah.
But everyone will melt like butter to Pawn. So he's just looking for the flank, and he's being very clever here. He wants to kill whoever wants this nice, juicy minion wave in the bottom.
Yeah, there's a lot of red dots here for Imp to come and pick up if he wants them. But Pawn, this is the red side jungle of LGD. They have to know by now that it's always dangerous to go anywhere near it.
So the question is, can he kill Banshee Veil Acorn from full health?
This is your test, Pawn. Let's see whether you can do it. Doesn't have his Banshee's Veil quite available just yet. But Pawn not looking for it, wants to find somebody else coming down in transition. But I don't think he's going to be able to kill Acorn. And he's just going to leave it for now.
And the Banshee Veil actually had just gotten off just then. So had the potential, had the window when the Banshee Veil was down, but thought better of it.
Yeah, I feel like we should have just hired David Attenborough to come through for that one, as Pawn was stalking his prey and decides that in the end I would prefer not to go for that kill.
You do a pretty good David Attenborough.
No, that wasn't very good. That was more Gandalf, I think.
Sean
It was terrible. Yeah. Sean Connery. No, don't think so. Terrible. Terrible.
It's a bit of quiet time as everyone's posturing during this game.
I think we need to have a bit more quiet time, let's be honest.
Maybe after this series, Atlas, for you. Off to the bench for you.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen. Actually, no, it is what's going to happen. But Pawn and Clearlove hanging out together once more. They are going to be able to take down this Scuttle Crab. And I mean, we are talking about silly things, but not a whole lot really happening here. Teams just waiting for the...
Oh, boy.
Okay, talking about not very much happening, and the Baron is going to be started here for LGD.
So much damage already.
Yeah, exactly, and there's the Tidal Wave to come through here as well. Doesn't find anyone, but the Baron goes down before Clearlove can come in. Deft over the side, tries to get the auto attacks down. Wayless immediately kills Pawn though, as EDG are melting to the hands of LGD. Koro, they all turn on him, and he's going to fall down as well. The right-click damage from him, netting him a double kill already. And that's the kind of decisive play. They waited for the right time, and LGD capitalized.
They knew the spawn time for Dragon, knew that EDG were posturing towards it to build up that 4th Dragon, and DPS down Baron in an instant. I was surprised by the damage they were putting out between the percentage damage of TBQ, the Trinity Force from Acorn, and all of Graves' damage. And look at all the advantages stack up. In an instant, they blow through the inhibitor turret. Going to be the first inhibitor for LGD. They can't close out the game, but 0 to hero, very fast for LGD.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. They're going to have to use their empowered recalls to be able to get back and defend their inner turrets because, of course, the waves are crashing down. But they're just going to pick up a dragon and then sort of just let it happen. You know, they've got towers there. They'll sort it out.
And naturalistically, EDG able to watch this with their Scuttle Crab. Bit of a bizarre torture for the EDG team. But one of their win conditions starts to fade away. Suddenly, at minimum, 12 minutes till we're talking about a 5-dragon stack coming down from EDG. And with the base broken and the low wave clear, I don't know how EDG are going to be able to manipulate waves to get the team fight they've been so desperately trying to bait.
Yeah, and it looks like Imp actually deciding to build a Guardian Angel here as well. They understand that they can win the game after their next team fight, you have to think.
Absolutely, and the Guardian Angel is completed, like you say. They're going to finally get this outer turret at 35 minutes into the game. Oh, maybe not.
No, not going to happen this time, of course. A lot of wards are put down here by EDG, trying to get damage to the turret with wards, but of course that doesn't work, and they're both going to get swept away here by LGD at the same time. Pawn is going to chain up this blue buff and make sure that he can be as slippery as possible. Only one more item slot available for this LeBlanc here as well. But Deft is slowly scaling up, wanting to go for that Infinity Edge, you have to think, for his next item. Is that the proper choice, or is the fact that he hasn't got that Phantom Dancer yet really going to hurt him?
I think they need the Infinity Edge. I think they need the damage coming through from the Infinity Edge. They do have attack speed coming through from the Blade of the Ruined King, so okay, they don't have necessarily a lot of critical strike to support it, but with the Crit Cloak, he can go for either the Phantom Dancer or the Infinity Edge. But the big thing for EDG, the only game I can compare this to from EDG's season is EDG versus OMG Game 1, where you remember how good did Pawn's Nidalee look? And they still lost the game. The same story with the LeBlanc. It's been a solo story. It's been so effective on it. But in that game, the Twist of Fate could roam because Nidalee couldn't follow the Twist of Fate roam. In this game, Pawn's doing a lone hand, but they have no wave clear, so they're just going to get pushed in, and they don't really look like they have any answer to what LGD are putting out.
Yeah, EDG are trying to do something here. They're looking for a possible engage. Pawn over to the side, trying to get some poke damage down. Koro actually going to flash switch of advance onto Imp here as well. The Tidal Wave's beautiful clear up, immediately broken from his absolute zero as the ult comes through onto Deft, but he doesn't fall down just yet. The knock-ups onto Koro as he gets focused and killed, and Acorn is going to die. Deft is still alive, but he needs to save himself, and the tower falls down. Imp, he's still got the Guardian Angel as the chain actually procs there as well. Pawn looking to try and get some damage down as EDG trying to come in and get something done. Oh, TBQ, you're in so much trouble, and just explodes to Pawn's damage, and EDG now looking to try and re-engage. The Blood Boil is there, and he's got a lot of movement speed coming through to Clear Love, but it's not going to be quite enough, and POL actually doing a masterful effort saving his team there.
And LGD buying a lot of times for the super minions to start hitting onto this Nexus turret. It just lives on a sliver of health. They need to back off and clear waves. And look, they got some exit kills, but it's a trade for a second inhibitor turret. Not quite an inhibitor just yet. But again, EDG, their only real win condition was to get towards 5 Dragons and force fights just basically because they were threatening Baron, because they're threatening Dragon. But that assertive call to take down the Baron has completely unsettled any of EDG's win conditions, and now they just kind of sit back, have no real initiation, and hope for the miracle chains, hope for the overextension under a turret. We're running out of turrets for LGD to die.
Well, that's the thing here as well, and the fact that it was such a gigantic swing of power here at the same time. Baron to one team fight, to 2 turrets, to an inhibitor.
And a dragon.
And a dragon. They've got everything from it. It was just beautiful capitalization, and that's exactly the story of what EDG hasn't been able to do this game. They've got Pawn going around and getting solo kills around the map, but what do they get from it?
And that's the same story as I mentioned. Nidalee, I believe it was 10, 4, and 11. He did excellently that game. Solo killed the jungler, solo killed the enemy mid laner, but eventually Twisted Fate outscaled Nidalee. They had so much map pressure and EDG didn't have any engage. It's the same story here. Pawn's able to get a lot of exit kills. His score looks great, 10, 3, and 2. but they have 2 damage sources. One of them is a burst damage mid laner with no wave clear, and the other one's Kog'Maw. They can't force anything on their own terms whatsoever. And LGD, they just have so many different ways they can win. They have picks, they have hard initiate with the Assault and Battery, they have long range initiate with Wayless, and they have a lot of neutral damage, as we saw with them blowing down the Baron buff in no time at all. And EDG, they're so tunneled in this Protect the Kog'Maw comp, but LGD, they completely calculated it. They forced them into a hyper carry last pick when they already had all the hard initiate in the world. So masterful pick phase for LGD, and EDG, they just kind of ran out of options with their last pick.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate here, but of course LGD still need to finish the game, and EDG, they can capitalize on any mistakes to come through, but LGD just haven't been making them this game. And
the Kog'Maw's just not big enough to do enough damage to really threaten the front line. It's not the Infinity Edge. Actually been forced onto a Spectre's Cowl for a bit of magic resist, because again, the long range damage from Wayless has actually been basically assassinating Deft in multiple fights or forcing him to back. And if he backs, where's the damage coming, barring the burst trades from Pawn?
Yeah, and it means also that Deft can't be the ultimate 6 damage item Kog'Maw here as well. I mean, he can't be the way that Name was building the Jinx earlier on, where it's just 100% damage.
And it's not Crystal's Juggernaut, where he was able to play Kog'Maw and be in the front and have so many shields and hastes from the Whimsy, and finally going to get the outer turret. But Deft has to position defensively, still eats all the long-range damage from Syndra. And again, like, they're not getting the purchase from the Kog'Maw pick. Pawn's doing excellently, but the rest of the team comp doesn't synergize with it. They have low wave clear and no initiate. A lot of issues kind of all at the same time in this draft for EDG.
You can see both Dragon and Baron about to come up at exactly the same time. We'll see whether LGD really decide to go for the Baron as it spawns, or whether it's going to be a bit of a dance around it. And I have to think that the dance is probably what they're going to opt for, because that does seem to be the way of this game. And you can see now as well, I mean, LGD, the patient game has been working so well for them, and if it ain't broke, why fix it?
And look, EDG have had time to use their double sights and to get good wards around the Baron, so there's not really a potential to burst it down. EDG are actually posturing towards trying to burst it down as Aurelia solos the Dragon slowly. They're trying to engage, but this is woeful engage. It's basically a snowball, and they have to back away.
Yeah, and LGD, they're more than happy just to let EDG do any attempted engage while
Dragon
while Aurelia just sort of slaps the Dragon around for as long as possibly can. Of course, not taking too much damage, but it seems like they're just partying there. And EDG, when they have no hard engage, they can't capitalize on what's going on right now, because Acorn, I mean, he could teleport in if anything did break out, but nothing doing really. And that's 2 Guardian Angels now completed. TBQ also having one of those, as Imp just going to be pushing down this wave. Acorn just decides that he wants to use his Transcendent Blades here on the bottom side. Doesn't want to get caught with their minion waves pushing through, and he's going to head back to base. Just get some extra mana, and possibly some home guard boots, and rocket out.
LGD are in no rush to go check this Baron. They know that there's no realistic chance that EDG are going to rush it down. While the TBQ face checks, it has Guardian Angel.
Yeah, he's going to get that Guardian Angel popped here, though, and the fight is on completely. Clearlove gets a massive channel at the Absolute Zero, and TBQ going to fall down already. This Maokai is getting destroyed, though, in the front line, but he's going to flash away after that Twisted Advance. Beautiful play. Acorn now in a whole lot of trouble. The double kill to come through now for Pawn, who gets the triple here as well. Somehow PYL dies to him. Imp now, he's going to get slowed down by that snowball. Flashes forward. That was the Mimic, though, and Pawn is a god. Wayless is going to take down Def, but he is so incredibly low. Imp now trying to fight this one off. Wayless, he's going to fall eventually. There's the Guardian Angel popped, as the chain's not actually going to proc on a dead target, as now the gigantic teleporting tree going to be able to secure that one. And EDG, we were talking about the fact that they can capitalize on mistakes, and that looks like it.
Yeah, just talking about the lack of need for a face check. Not a lot of Baron damage coming out, barring Deft. It would have been a fairly slow Baron, especially for 42 minutes standard. Speaking of slow Barons, looks like EDG going to try one. There's still a long death time, as TBQ won't be able to get there in time. Clearlove still has enough cooldown reduction to do good damage in rotation this Baron, and it will fall eventually.
Yeah, Clearlove able to eat it here as well, so he's not at too much damage of dying, but the Mimic Distortion going to do a whole lot of work, and that is the second Baron going down now to EDG.
And finally, Koro is becoming the front lane tank he needs to be. We're going to see a replay come through. You watch the replay, TBQ is caught out of position. That's the big factor, and Akon just enters the fight now. So TBQ will die instantly during the fight. Smart chains coming through, and all the zone control coming out. We were waiting for the big burst trades to come out from Pawn. Pawn's watching at the side of this fight, looking for the engaged target, gets the kill onto Akon to begin the fight. It's the AD carries falling that's the big factor.
Oh my goodness.
So Kog'Maw's still alive. Watch Deft in the backline. And then the assassination from Wayless is so on point. Through the Spectre's Cow, deletes Deft off the map. And Imp, that's the thing. He buys time. He will eventually fall, as, almost was going to be the passive picking up a kill. But Imp buys so much time that he almost allows his team room to respawn. But eventually will fall. Wayless with the great play just to stop this being a landslide win, getting the assassination onto Deft. But as we turn to the fight, they've got the Baron. They're riding with the Baron. This game is actually close after a big mistake coming through from LGD with the face check.
Yeah, it just wasn't exactly what you want to do. You don't want to get that Guardian Angel pop for free and then have TBQ have to try and get out of a situation that he'd got himself into. So not really working out here. Of course, Bloodthirster has now been completed by Imp, so he's going to have a whole lot more defensive statistics with that shield, but also with the extra lifesteal really going to be helpful. Not to mention a massive load of damage, but LGD probably not going to want to fight again until these Guardian Angels are back available.
Banshee Veil was the finish for Deft. Makes sense with the Spectre's Cow, but delaying what you have to assume at this point is the Infinity Edge last for another few minutes. LGD, they have a lot of wave clear. EDG, they can't afford to make a mistake. They don't have a lot of wave clear themselves. Probably not going to be too many advantages gained from this Baron buff unless the split push begins.
Yeah, the defensive Baron to come through here. Oh, Pawn, he's going to find him off to the side and insta-kills him. And that's exactly what EDG were looking for.
Well, why was Imp walking there? There was no reason to. They did not have ward coverage around and face-checked a Baron buff to LeBlanc.
Yeah, and TBQ now going to get aggressive on the tower dive is on. His Korra's just happy to tank it up forever. TBQ in so much trouble as Deft with all of that range. Look at the Mikhails as well. Beautifully timed onto Deft. And Wayless is just going to get destroyed. He used his ultimate on Deft, did nothing.
No, did nothing. Didn't have a lot of the spheres down. And then, as you mentioned, the Mikhails came through. Pawn is such a god on LeBlanc. We can't even overstate it. 15, 3, and 4. The next best member, 4, 4, and 8. Again, but why was Imp there? Why did he face check a brush? There was no need to whatsoever. And EDG, against all odds, they're probably going to win it.
Yeah, there's the Assault and Battery onto Deft as they go in for the final last-ditch effort. Akon, he's burning down as Pawn, just happy to tank up the turret. It is eventually going to fall down as Deft with so much damage. Now just focusing the Nexus. TBQ in a lot of trouble. Pawn, he doesn't even die somehow, blows the Zhonyas. And that was just beautiful play coming through from the mid laner of EDG. Just unbelievable.
And you can see him throw off the headset. So proud of himself. 16, 3, and 4. And LGD, as bemused as Invictus Gaming was in Game 1 against the aforementioned Cho'Gath Diana combo, LGD, they had that game in their grasp. They had everything. They had the initiation advantage. They were looking great. But 2 face checks, one from TBQ, when you could look down this EG line and go, all right, the Baron's going to be slow. Let's find a strategic way to walk in. He walked in and had his Guardian Angel popped instantly. That got the Baron for EDG. We were mentioning how they're going to initiate a fight. It's going to need a face check of some sort. The first one came, and the second one, just unbelievable. Imp, the world champion AD carry, walks into a LeBlanc and dies at the end of the game. 70-second respawn time. He didn't even respawn as that game ended. And EDG, they stole that win from LGD.
Yeah, they really did, and it was all off the back of that face check. But let's see if it happens again as we hop into Game 2 between LGD and EDG, and we'll see whether it all just happens again.